Every day, the people of Hope College are
leading,
discovering,
believing,
dreaming,
pursuing,
serving,
innovating,
exploring,
creating,
collaborating,
questioning,
curing.
We are finding new ways to do old things.
We are challenging the status quo
and building a legacy.
We are pursuing truth.
We are solving tomorrow's problems today.
We are thinking globally.
We are faithfully hoping.
We are celebrating victories.
This day and every day.
We are strengthened by our faith,
Bound by a shared commitment to building community.
And dedicated to providing our students with a world-class liberal arts education.
faithful.
Welcoming, transformational.
This is Hope College.
I love that video every time. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Maybe it's not evening where you are, but it is evening here in Holland, and it is a beautiful summer-like day. But I am happy to be taking a break from the weather and coming inside to talk to some lovely new students about the registration process. So I know there are a lot of challenges in our lives right now, but there are still things to celebrate, and one of those things is you starting your college journey at Hope. So all of us tonight are excited to help set you up for success, and everyone on campus is looking forward to welcoming you in the fall. I am Beth Stadowski. You do not have to worry about ever trying to say that last name. Some people call me Bethski, but Beth works too. I have worked at Hope for 10 years as part of the Alumni and Family Engagement team, and I'm also lucky enough to teach an FYS each fall, which is one of my favorite parts of my job. I'm also a Hope graduate. I graduated in 2000 with a degree in communication and business. So I'm lucky to have experienced Hope in many ways, and hopefully in a few years, my kids will allow me to experience it as a Hope parent as well. So this event and others like it this summer are created to help ease some of your concerns and answer some of your questions, not to stress you out or cause more anxiety. So hopefully you take a few things away tonight that are new to you or reassure you, but don't feel like you have to keep up with every single thing that we say. We're here every day to answer your questions, and we'll be sharing ways for you to do that all throughout the summer. So just try to relax and take away a few new things tonight about the registration process. You're going to spend some time learning about that from Alyssa Boss. Alyssa is also a Hope alum. She graduated with a degree in social work, and her technical role is Associate Registrar and Associate Director of Advising, which is very fancy. She also teaches an FYS, and she is just a gen ed guru, a total genius at creating schedules for first-year students. But even better, she cares about each and every one of you and bends over backwards to do whatever students need to be successful in their time at the college. So we're going to learn from her tonight, specifically about the survey you received in your Tuesday tidings last week. So hopefully you're starting to check your email and reading those messages. She actually created the survey, so she's legit the expert, and she's going to walk you through that. And when she's done sharing, we're going to have time for Q&A. So you can see at the bottom of the screen, there's a little Q&A button, or maybe you're using the app and you'll see it there. And you can submit questions at any time throughout Alyssa's remarks, now when the Q&A starts, and we're going to go through those, and we'll be moderating those questions at the end. So don't feel like you have to wait. You can submit those anytime. And she's also going to be doing a few polls, so make sure you're ready to answer a couple of polls. Nothing challenging yet. We'll save that for fall. So go ahead, Alyssa, take it away.
Thanks, Beth. I just want to start by saying one of my favorite things about my job is helping first-year students with that academic transition to college. So I'm so excited that you're going to join us at Hope in the fall, and so glad we can connect virtually tonight. The first thing I want to do is just see kind of where your comfort level is with that registration process. So we're going to do a quick poll question that should pop up on your screen. So if you want to take a second to answer that question, we'll give a minute for everyone to answer, and then we'll move on from there. Okay, I'll give it just another minute. Okay. Great. So thank you for taking a second to answer that question for us. We'll have our results popped up here. Looks like everyone's kind of all over the board, and so that's great. My goal for tonight is to give an overview of the registration survey that you received and that registration process to hopefully make you feel a little bit more confident with what we're asking you to do. I'm going to pull up the survey and kind of go through each item so that you can see what we're asking and explain kind of why we're asking you to do that. We use your responses to put together a custom survey for you. So that's why we're kind of asking these questions to get to know you a little bit better. Before I pull up the survey and share my screen with you, we do want to ask one more poll question as well, just to kind of see if you've even had a chance to look at that registration survey and what you're thinking about that so far. And then we'll move along and look at the survey together. So I'll give you a minute to do that. All right, we'll just wait for our results to come through in just a second. Okay, so it looks like most of you've looked at the Tuesday tidings, which is great. That's how you got into this meeting. You've looked at the survey, but haven't done much more beyond that. So that's okay. And then I think after tonight, you'll probably feel a lot more comfortable answering some of those survey questions. So now I'm going to share my screen, and then I'm just going to go through the survey and talk about each one. So I just going to have hold on just one moment. I'm going to pull up the survey. There we go. Okay. So I have a survey pulled up, and you were emailed a link to this survey. And so when you go in your email and you click on the link, the subject title of the email was registration survey, you'll be able to come here. And that survey is due June 24. And so there's no kind of priority for submitting before that. You just want to make sure you submit by June 24, and then the survey will save throughout. So if you need to leave the survey and come back, that's totally okay. I'll just go through and look at that first question. The very first question we are asking you is about your major and career interests. And the reason we ask you this is sometimes there are some courses that you might want to take in the first semester based on those interests. And so we look at that and pick out courses to keep you on track for that. You have the ability to put in 3 different responses. You do not have to fill in each line. You can just put one option. But if you do put more than one, we just ask that you list them in a preference order. And then sometimes based on the major you select, you might be asked a follow-up question just so we can learn a little bit more. So when I was looking at this, I picked the pre-health professions as a career track that I was interested in, and then art history as well. So if I go to the next question, it will ask the type of health profession I'm interested in. So I picked dentistry. I also want to mention, I'm going to go back to the other screen, that there is the option at the top to say undecided. So if you're not sure what major you're interested in, that's totally okay. You can list undecided, and then we'll be able to give you some courses that will let you try out some different things, and you have plenty of time to get on track for that. So let's move on. The next question asks if you're interested in playing a sport in the fall or winter. And the reason we ask this is so we don't schedule courses during your practice time. So if you are playing a fall sport, you can say yes, and then the next question will just ask you which sport, and that also helps us ensure that we don't schedule any courses on like game nights or something like that. The next question asks about AP exams that you took in high school. We're asking about that so that if you're going to get credit from an AP exam, we don't register you for a course that you might have credit for. So if you did take an AP, you can go ahead and say yes, and then go on to the next question. And then because if you said yes, it will ask you which AP courses there. And then you can list your score. So if you know your score, you can select that. If you don't, you can say unsure. We know a lot of you took AP senior year, so you don't know your score yet, but we'll receive your score before we create your schedule. So we'll take a look at that prior to doing that. So we make sure we don't register you for something you have credit for. If you happen to take more than 10 AP exams, there's a question at the end for extra notes, and you can list those there as well. The next question asks if you've done any IB exams in high school. If you say yes, it will ask you for which ones, and then no if you haven't. And then we're asking if you've done any courses at other colleges or universities. Again, so we don't register you for courses you have credit for. You can click on the link to find out more information about transfer credit and see how your courses might transfer over. If you do indicate that you took other courses, then the follow-up question is just going to ask you to list out information about those courses. So again, if you've taken more than 10 courses, you can add more at the end. Then the next question asks about your interest in participating in one of our day one research communities. Some of these are live-learn communities where you live in a particular hall or you take certain courses. If you click on the link to the website, you can find out more about the different options, and you can also apply to those. So you can select if you've already applied or if you plan to apply. And if you did say that you plan to apply or already applied, it's going to ask you which program you're interested in. And I'm going to share that if you select Watershed, that course does have a particular first-year seminar course that you'll be enrolled in. I'm going to talk about first-year seminars in a minute, but just be aware that if you do select the Watershed program, you won't be asked about the first-year seminar question that I'll talk about in a little bit. And the next asks about your interest in participating in the Phelps Scholars Program. That's also a live-learn community. You're going to take a particular Phelps Scholar FYS and live in a residence hall and community with others in this program. So if you do say that you're planning to participate in that program, again, you won't be asked that FYS question. So the next question is asking about first-year seminars. And first-year seminar is a course that's required for all first-year students in the fall semester to take. It's 2 credits, and there's tons of different topics to choose from. So for this question, you're going to want to click on this link to the course descriptions and read those over. There's tons to choose from. And this is kind of a fun question because you can share your top 10 that you're interested in. You'll want to put them in your preference order, and then we'll find one that fits best with your other courses and has availability in your schedule. So this might be one where you want to kind of click back and forth between the 2 tabs, or maybe you write down your options, but you'll want to list the 10 there. Today in your Tuesday Tidings, you were told about 2 new opportunities for FYS. For some of you that may have already started this survey, you might not see those changes. And if so, you can just put a note at the end that you're interested in one of those 2. If you've already submitted, you can email me at advising@hope.edu, and I can edit your options there. But you'll be able to read the descriptions in the link on the survey. Then the next question asks you for your bottom 5. So in a, I don't know, extremely rare situation that we can't put you in one of your top 10, we ask for 5 that you're just not interested in. So you can list those there as well. For your top 10 and your bottom 5, you're just going to want to make sure you provide us with all unique topics. You're not going to want to list 10 of the same topic, because if that one topic doesn't work in your schedule, then we don't have other options to register you for. So just be sure to complete those fully. Then the next question is asking about general education requirements. And general education requirements are something that all students have to complete their time at Hope. It's required to earn a degree, and there's lots of different requirements to meet, but you'll take them throughout your entire time at Hope, and you'll spread those out. So if you click on the link in the survey, you'll be able to learn more about our Gen Ed requirements, and you'll learn more about them in FYS as well. But you might on that website see a particular requirement that you're interested in having part of your schedule in the fall. So if you do, there's a place on the survey to indicate which requirements you're interested in. And sometimes based on which ones you've selected, you might be asked some follow-up questions as well. But just know that you'll have plenty of time to work those in. And a lot of the courses that might be recommended in the first semester based on the major you're interested in also often meet general education requirements. So you might be meeting requirements just based on taking those suggested courses for your major. So if there are requirements, like I said, you can select those. And then because I chose Arts 1 as one of the general education courses I was interested in, it asks which type of Arts 1 course I'm interested in. And I just picked no preference. But for some of the other Gen Eds, you might be asked similar follow-up questions. And then it's going to ask if there's specific courses for your major or minor that you're interested in. When you click the link in the survey, you're going to see some recommendations based on major that the departments have created. So you can see either if there are courses that you really should have in that first semester to keep you on track with that major. Other majors just have a few suggested courses that you might consider. So if you answer yes, it will ask you which courses you're interested in seeing in your schedule. Just know that if there are courses that you need in the first semester to keep you on a track with a major, we're going to make sure you're registered for those courses. And we're going to do that just based on how you answered that first question about your major. So if you're not sure what to put for this question, don't feel like you have to list specific courses. We'll make sure you get the schedule that you need. And for some other majors, there might be suggested courses, but they might not be completely necessary in that first semester to keep you on track. So you might see those courses in your schedule if there's availability, but otherwise there's opportunities to take it in a future semester. So if I select yes for this question, then I'll be asked to fill in those specific courses. I picked dentistry as one of my career interests in the beginning. And so based on the website of the suggested courses, I listed biology and chemistry as the courses I was interested in taking in my first semester. The next question just asks if there's anything that you want to let us know about yourself that we should take into consideration when we make your schedule. So this would be where you could expand on how you answered questions before. If there's more information you need to let us know. Sometimes this is where students tell us that they don't want classes on Monday or Friday, and all of them need to be between noon and 2 p.m. And while we can't honor requests like that, we will do our best to make sure that we take your requests into consideration for that. And then finally, we just ask for your phone number. So that way, when we are making your schedule, we can reach out to you easily if we have questions. So at this time, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And then I just want to talk about what happens after you submit your survey. So you submit your survey, like I said, those are due June 24. After that, we'll review all of the responses at the same time. So like I said, no preference for people who submitted early. Just make sure you get it in on time. And then staff in the advising office and the registrar's office looks at your responses and makes a custom schedule just for you. So we're individually looking at every single survey response and working on your schedule so that it's unique to you. Then you'll get your schedule at the end of July. We'll send out instructions for how to do that. And then you'll have a chance, if you need to, you can request a change, and we'll do our best to honor those requests if we're able. And then you'll also get to sit down one-on-one with your advisor orientation weekend just to review your schedule. So there's lots of opportunities to go over again and talk to someone, but just know that based on how you answer your questions, we're going to make sure we get you a schedule that works for you. So I think at this time, we're going to kind of switch back over to Beth, and then we'll get a chance to answer some of your questions.
Awesome, Alyssa. Thanks for that. That was super helpful. It was a lot of information, and as we expected, our number of good questions were submitted. So good work to all of you guests and people watching that submitted some good questions. To help us answer those questions, we're going to have some more Hope Friends join us, and we're going to have a panel of people that can help out. So joining us right now are Elizabeth Steenwyk, Dr. Ryan White, and Mary Kay Dobbins, and they're going to each take a moment to share kind of their area of expertise for tonight's Q&A.
Hey guys, my name is Liz. I'm the Associate Registrar in the Registrar's Office along with Alyssa. I graduated from Hope in 2004, and I have been working at Hope for the last 15 years, 14 of those in the Registrar's Office. So I've registered a lot of incoming freshmen, and I've done a lot of academic advising. So I'm happy to answer your questions about transfer credit specifically, AP credit, study abroad, general education requirements. I can help with all those.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Ryan White. I'm the Associate Dean for Academic Advising and Applied Learning. What I do at Hope is I work really closely with Alyssa and helping manage the academic advising program and system at Hope, which essentially the advising system refers to the pairing. Every student at Hope always has a faculty advisor, someone assigned to them to work with them, support them, help them navigate Hope, help them navigate their own personal and career development, and especially help them with class planning and registration. I also direct our first year seminar program, which you've heard referenced a few times. We have some first year seminar instructors on this call, which is fun. And I also work with the Borchter Center for Calling and Career and helping develop various experiential learning opportunities at Hope. So I'm happy to be here to help answer any questions or to just listen and see those questions be answered by others.
Hi, I'm Mary Kay Dobbins. I am the Health Professions Advisor, so I work with students that are interested in attending graduate school in any of the health professions. Alyssa, in the survey, kind of showed you a little bit. You're going to have to pick and give us some information about which health profession specifically you're interested in. Give us your best guess at this point in time, and we'll help to build a schedule that's going to work really well for you. I have been doing health professions advising specifically since 2005, and I've been at Hope since 2015. I work really closely with Dr. White in the advising office, and I'm also part of the Borchter Center for Calling and Career, and partner with a lot of the folks there for experiential learning and helping students get on track for all the other things that you need to do besides just classes if you want to go into a health profession.
Perfect, thank you. And of course, we're still joined by Alyssa, who will also be helping with the questions. And I'm impressed. You've submitted a long list, and so we'll start working our way through them. And even though a few of them were probably answered during Alyssa's presentation, we'll still ask them again because I think it's nice to kind of point out some of the things that you're the most curious about. So a popular question that's on everyone's mind, will come as no shock, is, what about the fall? If there's any information that's new or different that can be shared about what to expect as we approach the fall semester beginning. So Alyssa, maybe you could share a little bit about that topic.
I'll unmute myself. That will help. Yeah, so we are planning on an in-person, on-campus residential Hope College experience in the fall. Some courses might be online or partially online for faculty or students that require them, but we are planning on having our in-person experience. But given that, this past spring, our faculty were able to do an amazing job switching to remote instruction so quickly, we know that they're going to do an awesome job if we have to make that move again. But again, we're optimistic and we're planning on a face-to-face experience.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so this question is for Liz. Liz, what can you share for students coming into their first year of college that know that they're interested in studying abroad at some point during their Hope journey, if they should be saving any classes or sharing that in the forum? What's your advice for that?
Well, I think it's a great idea. I'm a huge proponent of study abroad. I did it myself, and I work with students who want to complete gen ed requirements while studying abroad. Planning is key. Going to the Center for Global Engagement, right away in the fall, explore the options for study abroad. There are a variety of choices. We have like over 200 programs that you can choose from pretty much any country in the world. So that's really great. Common requirements that students fulfill depending on the program: Arts 1, Cultural Heritage 2, Religion 2. Students will also often complete major requirements, minor requirements. It just depends on the program because we have such a huge variety of programs that are available. They all have different courses, but those are some of the common ones. I think if you know right away you absolutely want to study abroad, put that in the comments at the end of the survey. That's helpful for us to know. And then maybe we wouldn't put you in all 3 of those general education requirements to help you save some of those for an off-campus experience.
Awesome, thank you. And I second that. I highly recommend the study abroad experience or the domestic semester study. So that's great advice. Liz, another question for you. How should they register for classes when they don't know their AP scores yet? And also, should they request a class even if they don't know yet if they got IB credit for it?
Great question. We thankfully should have all of the AP scores and IB scores by the time we actually create freshman schedules in July. We typically get that score information from AP and IB right around the 1st of July. So I usually try to rush process them as quickly as I can before we all have a nice holiday weekend for the 4th. So we'll have that information. Even if you don't have it now, you can certainly leave us a note in the survey. Some students really want to retake whatever class they did an AP exam in. So for example, some students will score high in chemistry, but they know they just really want to take chemistry at Hope and just really have that solid foundation before moving on. So it's nice if we know that. And so we wouldn't exclude you from a chemistry class hoping that you might get credit for it, or seeing that you did get credit for it. We would know, okay, you don't want that AP credit. We're going to put you in that class anyway.
Great, that was helpful. So Mary Kay, we've got a great question that you can address. If a student is leaning towards physical therapy, but also considering medicine, should they select both under the health professions or just physical therapy?
Actually, they should select both if they can. I don't know if the survey will accommodate that. It would be helpful to know both, or they can select medicine and put also considering physical therapy in the comments somewhere. But their schedule for the fall is probably going to be built around the idea that they might be interested in medicine first. Because the classes that you need for medicine are different than what you need for physical therapy a little bit, But physical therapy and medicine share the same thing in that they both require general biology and they both require general chemistry. So we would start the students out on that path, and then they have the option, you know, next year, the sophomore year, to make a divergent track in there and say yes for sure physical therapy or yes for sure medicine.
Thank you. So there is a lot to know about coming to college, and some of it is really basic, but you don't know it till you know it. I realize that we keep referencing gen eds, so that is short for general education. So those general education requirements are the classes that everyone takes, no matter what they end up majoring in. Very few programs have a couple of little alternatives to that, but I just wanted to share that. And another really basic question that I think Alyssa could answer for us right now is, how many credits does a student typically take each semester, and how will we be choosing how many credits to enroll them in for their first semester?
That is a great question. Most students take probably 14 to 16 credits in their first semester. What I would say the majority of students, we're going to register you for 16 credits. 12 to 16 credits is full-time, and it's all of the same price as well. So most students want to take 16 because you get the most credits for what you're paying. So I would say if you want to take less than 16, then you can add that to the comments at the end. But for most, we're going to register you for 16 credits. 2 of those are going to be first year seminar, and then the rest are going to be a mix of other courses, maybe for your major you're interested in or general education requirements. And most students are going to take 16 credits every semester. You're required to earn 126 credits to earn a degree. So that breaks down to about 8 semesters of 16 credits.
Thank you. So we have a few questions coming in about the FYS, which is the acronym for the first year seminar, which is the course that every first year student takes in their fall semester. So it's the only time that you'll all be enrolled in a similar course at the same time. So I'm hoping that Ryan will take a few minutes to address the FYS, kind of that model. There was an inquiry about which FYS sections we teach, which I think is really fun, and maybe kind of explain the advising model, and someone also inquired specifically about the workload of an FYS.
Thank you, Beth. Yes, I am so happy to talk about FYS. I've been kind of waiting. We've got a panelist chat board. I'm like, can I talk about FYS on there? FYS is a really fun hallmark of the transition to academic life at Hope. As Beth noted, it's the only time at Hope where all students will be enrolled in the same thing at the same time, so that's kind of fun. There's a couple things I want to highlight about it. One is just the model. Beth referenced, if I could mention the model. One of the cool parts about our first year seminar program is your first professor of your first year seminar becomes your academic advisor, which I referenced earlier. So you have a professor from day one, actually from orientation, who is getting to know you in and out of the classroom. So that's a real special hallmark of Hope. But I also want to talk about what we mean by seminar, right? We say first year seminar, and you might be thinking like, well, what's a seminar? Are you like sitting around in a circle talking about big ideas? Yes, we are. A seminar is a small class, discussion-based, that might be a little bit different than some of the introductory disciplinary classes you might take on the rest of your course schedule. Part of the point is we're trying to help folks experience academic life at Hope, and your first year seminar in some ways will feel a little bit more like some really specific class topics you might take when you're a junior or senior, whereas most of your classes in the first semester will be introductions to different disciplines. Your first year seminar course, as you've noticed, if you looked at any of the descriptions, is going to be a really particular, really specific topic, almost like an upper level course. And that tends to add a little bit of kind of fun to the experience. Some other things in addition to being a small class where it's discussion focused that characterize it as a what we call as a first year seminar. One is you read primary text, or you hear primary or original voices. And what we mean by that is this isn't a class with textbooks where you hear about editors and people interpreting a voice. You wouldn't like read a psychology textbook and read about what other people say about Sigmund Freud. Instead, you just go read Sigmund Freud, or you'd go watch that filmmaker's films, or or go listen to that musician's music. So you're like consuming the original voice of the subjects that you're studying. So that's one of the characteristics of the first year seminar as well. Someone asked on the chat board, which are the people teaching on this call? That is top secret information. However, you may have noticed we don't list the faculty for our first year seminars. However, there's a few people on this call, and we are going to release that information because you're here and you asked. So we don't even usually tell folks that, but it's a beautiful day. We're gonna share that. So there's an awesome array of topics if you look at that list, all kinds of different topics, and you'll see that specificity I talked about. I teach Harry Potter and the Flying Dutchman. Right, and we take undergraduate identity theories from psychology, apply them to characters in book 1 and book 6 in the Harry Potter series, and see how the characters have changed. One of my goals in the class is to see if we can apply psychological theories to characters and to ourselves, and see and kind of articulate what that development looks like. So that's a little bit about mine. I'm going to let Beth and Alyssa also briefly just mention theirs because you're getting the top secret information tonight.
All right, I'll go first. Mine is #adulting. And in my course, we talk about that transition to adulthood and kind of what that looks like in today's world. We look at some different developmental and sociologist theories about that kind of delayed transition to adulthood. And we also just talk about the skills that you need as you kind of transition into that. So we get to do some like hands-on things. We'll talk cooking and nutrition and budgets and car maintenance and all of that fun stuff. But it's definitely a highlight of my role at Hope as well. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, my course is a combo kind of Ryan's and Alyssa's actually. It's called Live Your Best Life, and it's assessment based. So we take a number of assessments, including strengths, which you'll all be taking before you start at Hope in the fall. The Myers-Briggs, the 4 tendencies, and the urgency rating, a couple of other fun small ones. And then we combine that with kind of an introductory level of psychology theory and identity theory, and combine that to put together basically like a toolkit of what we're good at, what our strengths are, what our challenges are going to be, to try to help us figure out what we're going to do with ourselves to live our best life and use our gifts to give back to the world. So and there's a ton of fun topics. I love reading through the FYS descriptions every year and like wishing I could take several of them, including the Harry Potter one, which I think would be really fun. So a quick technical FYS question for you, Alyssa. Will those 2 new courses that you emailed about today be added to the survey?
Yes, thank you for asking that. I meant to mention this earlier. So those 2 that were added, if you've already started the survey, they might not appear for you. So if you haven't submitted yet, you can actually just go ahead and put that you prefer in which spot in the 10, those 2 sections. Otherwise, you can also request I can send you a whole new link to start the survey over. But if you've already made progress, just add it to the comments and we'll work that in. You'll still be required to choose 10 in the earlier question. And then if you've already submitted and you would actually rather adjust your preferences to include those 2 new sections, just email advising@hope.edu and then I can adjust your responses for you.
Great. And another quick question for you, Alyssa. If a student already knows what minor they're interested in, would there be any benefit to listing it as one of their major interests so it can kind of influence the classes you might consider putting them in?
Yeah, for sure. So if there is a kind of corresponding major on that list, you can put that, and then you can list in the comments that that one is intended to be a minor. For example, if you're interested in a dance major, then you're going to take a few more dance classes than if you told us you were going to be a dance minor, and then we would put you in fewer dance classes. So knowing that information and having that distinction is helpful.
Great. So Liz, can you share, should a student indicate that they've taken a course at another college if they took it as a class for dual credit?
Yes, if you have credit for that course on a college transcript or university transcript, meaning it's not just on your high school transcript, you have some kind of college credit for it on an accredited college transcript, yes, please put that on the survey, list that course information, and then if you haven't already, send us your official transcript. Right now, because we're all working remotely, electronic transcripts are my best friend. I can still do a paper transcript. It just takes a lot longer for it to be processed because it gets sent to the office. We have someone going into the office only twice a week to get our mail, and then she has to get that to me. So it just takes longer. So if you want to see it sooner, have an electronic transcript sent. Pretty much every school offers electronic transcripts now. And then, yeah, we'll get that evaluated and get it put on your record whenever. There's no rush on that. If you can't get it, before you submit your survey, just give us that information on the survey so we know it's coming.
Great, thank you. So also, I think this question might be for Liz too, but maybe Alyssa. Can you kind of address language placement? So I believe that they got their placement, but people often have questions about how they should put that on there. Do they need to put on the survey what they were placed in? Do you have that information already? And also, if there was a specific question about if you recommended a specific major for someone interested in an English or comm major or a specific foreign language. So if you maybe want to take a few minutes to cover the foreign language stuff in a little more detail.
Sure. So our language department reviewed your high school transcript to give a language recommendation to you. So they looked at your background and recommended what level of language you should be placed in, and you were emailed that at the end of last week. So if on your survey, if you indicate either an interest in a major of a certain language, or in the Gen Ed question, if you select second language, we're going to place you in whatever you were emailed in that placement. And we have that information sent to us. If you want to take something different than what you were placed in, you can add that in the comments. It's fine. If you're concerned about your placement, you can contact the language department. And then we also linked on our website, have a link to a placement test if you're unsure of your placement. That's for a few different languages, not all of them.
Great, thank you for that. So we have a number of questions coming in a similar theme. So I'm going to let whoever wants to take this one on. But basically, how early are the earliest classes? How late are the latest classes? And is it possible to indicate that you would like to have your classes spread out over all 5 days of the week, and to indicate a preference that you'd rather not have any night classes, or you're hoping not to have any early morning classes? I'm hoping someone can jump in and address that, because it is a lot different from high school.
I can take that one. So our earliest classes, I believe, is 8, sometimes 8:30. And then the latest, sometimes if it's a like once a week course, or for some of their science labs, their evening labs. And so those courses, if they're in the evening, they typically just meet once a week. And they probably go the latest, I'd say 9:30, I think 9:20. But again, you'll have that once a week. And then if you do have particular preferences, you're welcome to put that in the comments. Sometimes we can't honor that because courses are only offered Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or the available labs are only in the evening, but we will do our very best with that. And yeah, if you have preferences about spacing or putting things together, you can put that as well. We'll do our best. And if you are a student requiring accommodations as far as your schedule goes because of a disability or health need, in the Tuesday Tidings today, there was contact information for our Disability and Accessibility Resources Office, and you can contact them. And they'll help us when we create your schedule this summer to make sure that your schedule fits your needs as well.
Great, thank you. So if a student has a DAA scholarship, do they need to indicate that in the survey? Is that something that you'll already know? And with that knowledge, will you know what classes they need to be in to fulfill the requirements of the scholarship?
Yes, we get that list from the different departments that award that scholarship. So art, music, creative writing, etc. And we'll make sure that you're registered for the correct course for that as well. So you can put a note if you'd like to, but we'll also have that list as well.
And when students receive their schedule late in July, will it list the name of their instructors in addition to the classes that they're registered for?
Yes, so you'll get to see a full detailed schedule. We'll send you instructions for how to view that. It's going to be in your Plus Hope account. You'll get to see the times that they meet, the instructor, the room, all of that. You'll get the full details on there.
And the academic advisor questionnaire that was referenced, do they have access to filling that out already? And if so, where do they find that?
Yeah, so that is another survey that we ask you to do. We sent you a link that also came from surveys at hope.edu. That one was called Information for My Academic Advisor. It asks you some personal questions about yourself, and then your responses to that get passed along to your first year seminar instructor, who's also your advisor, before you start the semester so they can get to know you. So you can just search your emails for that. We'll start sending reminders for that later in the summer because it's not due until the end of July. And so right now we want you to focus on your registration survey, but you're definitely welcome to submit that right now as well.
So I love this question. I think it's very honest. You referenced that sometimes when we're building schedules for first year students, we pick up the phone and give them a call to clarify and make sure that we're building the right schedule for them. So do you know what the number looks like or a certain number they should be looking for so that they answer?
That is a great question because in most scenarios, that number is going to be Hope College. So it's going to be a 616395 Holland number. But given pandemic, there is a chance that some of us might be making schedules from home and we might be calling you on our cell phone. And so those numbers are going to be different, but if you don't answer, we will leave you a message and you can get back to us. So we're very used to leaving lots of voicemails. So hopefully if you can just watch for a voicemail from one of us, make sure you listen to it. Make sure your voicemail box is set up. Make sure that it is empty and able to receive messages. So if you could do those two things, that would help us out. And then just give us a call back as soon as possible.
So occasionally it does make sense for a student to have more than 16 credits in one semester. Liz or Alyssa, can you share the additional cost per credit over 16?
I was trying to look it up real quick. I think it's $550 per credit, $565 maybe. Alyssa, are you looking that up?
$565.
Thank you.
Perfect.
So that is kind of one of those rare situations. Sometimes especially our like music students sometimes need a lot or might take one additional credit. But for most students, you're going to take 16.
And speaking of credits, can you share on average how many actual classes 16 credits usually breaks down to?
I can take that one if you want me to. So the first year seminar is a 2-credit course. Most of our courses are 2 or 4 credits. We have very few 3-credit courses. So for a first-time student, typically that's going to be 5 courses. So obviously there are going to be exceptions to this. Dance and music, art, those come to mind because their courses are worth fewer credits. But a lot of you will have 3 4-credit classes and 1 or 2 2-credit classes for 14 to 16 credits. That's a pretty common schedule that we put together. Studio art courses are 2 credits. So if you're an art major, you might have a few of those. So that means more courses. Dance classes are only 1 credit each. So you're going to end up with more like 6 or 7 classes. Music students end up with a lot of classes. 6 just in music, plus some other things. So it varies, but probably 4 to 5.
And Liz, another question for you. Outside of language placement and AB and IP, are there other ways to test into higher levels of courses at Hope?
Like language specifically, or
no, more broadly? Yeah, more broadly.
Alyssa, you might have to help me on this one. Typically, students start in the beginning, and if they don't, they have credit for the lower courses already. So for example, Calculus 2, you need to have credit for Calc 1 to take it. Organic chemistry, you need to have credit for general chemistry to take that. I can't think of anything off the top of my head other than language. Anybody else, feel free to jump in. Language is the one where you can jump into a higher level. So for example, I took 4 years of French in high school, so I went straight into French 3 when I came to Hope. You know, other students will place into higher level languages just based on their experience, but I think that's probably the only situation like that.
Great. We received a really good question that I'm hoping maybe Ryan can address. And if not, we could certainly look into it and get more information. But Ryan or anyone, have you heard any discussion to confirm that when students arrive in the fall, currently the plan is that they will still have roommates?
I am only unmuting to say that I have not heard confirmation one way or another, so I wouldn't want to make any promises or make anyone worried, but we will look into the latest on that.
Thank you. That's a good question. And when do students get the information about the books they're going to need to have for their classes?
I believe the book list typically comes out in August, a few weeks before the semester begins. So we'll announce that in the Tuesday Tidings when that book list is available. It's going to be posted to the bookstore's website, and then they're going to have a system where you can look up the courses you're enrolled in and see what books you need, and then they're going to show you all the purchase options, whether it's renting or buying through them, or you're able to compare prices on other websites as well.
Thank you. Mary Kay, I have a question that I think you could address regarding sciences with labs. Wondering about how often they meet, how long they are, and how they count for credits.
Good question. So sciences, lecture portion of the sciences. In sciences, you have a lecture, a lab. So that's why when you look at the biology, it'll say biology 105 and 107. 105 is the 3-credit lecture. 107 is the 1-credit lab. The 3-credit lecture meets 3 days a week, most oftentimes Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The lab meets once a week for a longer period of time. Those are the lecture portion usually meets for about 50 minutes, hour class, and then the lab portion is usually 3 or 4 hours, depending on chemistry, biology, they have different requirements. Then there's also a 1 hour, once a week meeting called a discussion, where the science students get together, and it's usually in fairly large groups, or they'll break out into smaller groups, whatever, and they cover the topics for the week and get some extra help. So it's kind of a good way to kind of touch base and say, I understand everything that's going on, I want to work on some problems, or I don't understand this, can I get some extra help? And so discussion meets once a week. So it's about an hour 3 times a week for lecture, about 3 hours or so a week for lab, and then 1 hour of discussion.
Great, thank you. Ryan, I have a question for you. Someone is so excited about first year seminar that they're wondering if it's possible to take more than one.
Whoever you are, I can't wait to meet you. But no, you cannot. You can only have one. You can have too much of a good thing sometimes. So no, just one. I looked distracted. I was texting with people to try to see if I could get an answer to that roommate question. But there's no answer to share yet.
Well, thank you for doing that. Maybe Alyssa or Liz could speak to this. Like on average, how many classes will a first year student have per day?
It really does kind of vary by the courses that you're enrolled in. Because like Mary Kay mentioned, lectures for science labs meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And a lot of other courses, they only are offered Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if you're enrolled in a lot of those, you might see 4 classes on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then maybe just a lab on a Tuesday or Thursday. For those of you not in courses that only are offered Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you might see a little bit more balance between all the days of the week. So it really does kind of vary by the type of course you're enrolled in. And we're going to do our best to give you some balance in your schedule, some breaks. If you have back-to-back classes, a lot of them, we don't do that intentionally. It's just because of kind of the nature of the courses that you're enrolled in. So I'll say that courses that do meet on Monday, Wednesday, Friday are typically 50 minutes long, that are 4 credits. They're going to meet 3 days a week. And then courses on Tuesday, Thursday are an hour and 20 minutes. So that kind of gives you an idea of what that looks like. And then built into each day, there's some form of a break where no courses are offered on campus. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we don't have anything during chapel, and Tuesday, Thursday, we have a community hour from 11 to 12 where no courses are scheduled.
I'm hoping maybe you can revisit something that you covered in your content, Alyssa. We've received a few questions asking, like, what gen eds do you recommend I should take if I want to be a business major or a Spanish major or an English major? And can you kind of just like briefly walk back through how we use that survey to pick the right classes for them without them really needing to name them by name right now?
Sure. So based on the majors that you tell us you're interested in the beginning, on that website where there are the major recommended courses, that's just going to show you what a typical schedule might look like when you're interested in that major. For some majors like engineering, we know exactly what courses you need because they're required to keep you on track, and they're going to show on that website. We know you need engineering 100 and chemistry and math and FYS. So we're going to get you enrolled in those. So even if you don't indicate that at the end, we're going to put you in those courses. Same with any other major you indicate. We know what those recommended courses are. So we're going to give you a schedule based on that. But if there are specific courses that maybe are suggested or recommended that you're really interested in taking, you can list that at the end as well.
Excellent. And just kind of a little add-on to that, if someone indicates that they're interested in the nursing program, but they aren't pre-accepted, they don't need to worry about getting into the right classes for that, right? You and your team will build the right schedule to make sure they have what they need.
Correct. Yeah.
Because they
know
indicated
exactly
that interest.
what courses someone who's interested in that nursing track needs. And so we'll get you in those first semester courses to get you on track for that.
Great. And on topic of nursing, if someone was pre-accepted into nursing, but is still considering another direction for their life, should they indicate that on their form so that will influence their courses?
Sure, you could list both just so we have an idea of that. Nursing is very structured, so we're going to make sure we get you in those nursing courses. But depending on the other major you're interested in, we might be able to work some of that in as well. If it's something that has something you need right away to get you on track, we'll work that in too. If it's something that there's maybe a course you could start with, we'll look into that as well. But yeah, you could list both.
Great. Mary Kay, I think you might be able to help with this one. If someone's interested in a science major where calc is a requirement for the degree, do you think it's of benefit to take math their first year so there's not a gap in math between high school and college?
Maybe. It depends on if they're also interested in a health profession. So if they're interested in medicine or dentistry, any of the health professions, and need both biology and chemistry that first semester, adding on calculus or even calculus 2 makes for a really, really challenging first semester. And so there are some other options that students could opt to do. They could opt to do just chemistry their first semester, if that's the science that they really like the best, and they all want to keep their options open for a health profession, because then in their sophomore year they would do more chemistry and then add in their biology classes. If they're really interested in thinking of a biology major, maybe they want to start there and take biology along with their science classes, along with their math. But to add, to do both sciences and calculus is a pretty challenging first semester for students. And our aim is to have you be as successful as you possibly can. We don't want to overload anybody and have you feel very, very overwhelmed.
Great, thank you. We're going to work our way through just a couple more questions. And then for those of you that asked something specific and you weren't anonymous, we're going to address that information with you in an email after the event. But a couple of good questions yet, I think, before we close up. If a student was accepted to come to Hope this fall and they want to defer to spring, are there any consequences to that decision?
From kind of a registration standpoint, and from our office, the registration process will look a little bit different. You'll actually just work one-on-one with me to put together a schedule for the spring. But the thing that is different about your schedule is that first year seminar isn't offered in that spring semester. And would be a waived requirement for you. So you would be kind of missing that experience from the fall semester. So if you're able to, I would encourage you to start in the fall. I think it's really a great kind of experience in transition to the college experience when you do start in the fall. But yeah, if you're going to start in the spring, we'll work together to get you your schedule.
I'm going to tag on to that, Beth, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
I would just also point out that there's a pretty huge orientation event that goes on in August, and it's considerably smaller in January because we just have so many fewer new students starting in January, so you wouldn't get that orientation experience that a lot of students value for kind of that transition and feeling more acclimated to Hope. Otherwise, I think that's a good question to bring up to admissions as well, to talk about, are there any ramifications for financial aid? I don't know. I think that's something that should definitely be discussed with your admissions rep.
Great, thank you. And we've gotten quite a few questions about, can I double major and minor? Or if I know I want to double major and double minor, should I indicate that all now? And can I do that in just 16 credits per semester? So can one of you maybe address, are there limits to the number of majors and minors you can have? And what is most important to indicate in that survey now for the very first semester before they start working with an advisor?
Sure. There are not technically limits. However, you want to do what is doable and allows you to finish on time and enjoy your college experience. If you know what your interests are now, you can put those all on the survey. Some majors are a little more structured than others, so it's important for us to know that if you're interested in something, we can get you started on that path. Others that aren't as structured, maybe we would hold off on putting you in those courses to allow room for others that you really need right away, and then you could try those other courses in future semesters. As far as what is doable, it really does vary by major. Some of our majors are quite large in their requirements and others are quite small. So some students, depending on what they choose, are very easily able to take 2 majors and 2 minors and finish that with 16 credit semesters. But other majors, engineering, music, education, it's just not possible if you want to finish within 4 years and take 16 credits to take multiple majors and minors and fit that in. So that's something that I would say once you start at Hope, you'll work with their advisor and talk to the faculty in the departments to figure out what those courses would look like and what it would look like to have that type of combination to really see what's doable. And I would also encourage you to meet with our staff in the Boerchter Center for Calling and Career to help with some of that discernment as well. But for now, I'd say indicate what you're interested in, and we'll make sure that you have a schedule that will keep you on track for what you need in the first semester.
Perfect. Great. All right. So last question for the evening. I'm thinking this one is directed at Ryan, but whoever can help. Wondering more details about the Phelps Scholar Program. What classes are associated with that, events that go along with it? Can you just explain briefly a little bit more about what the Phelps Scholars Program is?
Yeah, thank you. So as Alyssa mentioned earlier, the Phelps Scholars Program is one of our what we call living and learning communities at Hope. So that means there's a residential life component and an academic engagement component. And the Phelps Scholars, they live together and they study together, right? It is a program that is focused on diversity and cross-cultural engagement, and there's a variety of common kind of hallmark experiences that they have. So they have a common first-year seminar in the fall, and in the spring they take a class called Encounter with Cultures. But they also have a variety of events that they do, field trips, cultural trips. They do some work with campus where they display some of their own learning. They have a poster presentation with some of what they've worked on in their first year seminar. So it is it's an experience that is both academic, residential, and experiential.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much, Alyssa and Liz and Mary Kay and Ryan and our tech support behind the scenes to help us pull off this virtual event tonight. I still find staring at my face in the screen really awkward, but I feel like this was really fun. And thank you to all of you who took time out of your day to participate in this. I'm really proud of all of you for already making that decision on June 2nd to spend some time kind of taking control, learning what you can to set yourself up for success in the fall. So there are going to be more opportunities like this. And also, as Alyssa shared, you can always email advising@hope.edu, and they are there to answer all of your questions. So if we didn't hit on something tonight, please just shoot an email off right away after this or anytime as things come up over the summer. There's going to be drop-in hours on Thursday afternoon, 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern time, and there's information about that in the Tuesday Tidings. And there's also another event like this next Tuesday featuring Dr. Ryan White, talking more about the process of deciding on your major. So before we go, Alyssa is going to take us through one more poll just to see if people are feeling a little bit better about the registration process. So go ahead, Alyssa, with the poll, and then we can all carry on with our
Awesome. So that same poll question I asked you at the start, we're gonna ask it again. If you want to take a minute and answer that. I'm hoping that after having the overview and hearing the Q&A, you're feeling a lot more comfortable and confident. And if you still have questions, like Beth said, email advising@hope.edu, come to office hours on Thursday afternoons. We're happy to help. We don't want this to be a scary or intimidating process. So we're definitely just here to help. So we'll give it a little bit longer. There we go. So it looks like most of you are feeling a lot better. A few of you are nervous, and that's okay. Please contact us and we'll be happy to help.
Awesome. Well, thank you again to each of you. Good luck as we keep moving forward with plans for this and everything else, and have a lovely evening.